Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the guardian of the blue paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, will the draft produce a summer of love in Philly? Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. Join Lance Green and SteelFlyers as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And Lance, my friend, I think we got a good one here for him today. What do you think?
I hope so. Lot to cover here before the draft commences, right?
Exactly, and that's kind of what we're going to get into here. So how about this, folks? Are you ready for episode number 128 of the Hockey Ink of Philadelphia Flyers podcast, where we exclusively talk about the Philadelphia Flyers, in case you haven't noticed? By the way, episode number 28, here we go. Will the draft produce a summer of love in Philly? And I'm going to tell you, Lance, this has the makings. Something good. What do you think?
I think so. We already have 2 first-round picks with the trade of Ivan Provorov that everybody, of course, knows about. But there's a lot of possibility out there that we could add to it. With Danny Briere still wheeling and dealing and the rumor mill's churning, he's definitely seeing what's out there, and we could possibly see another first-round pick or garnering some second-round picks as well as prospects. Who knows? The opportunities are endless. So
I like the way you're going with that, sir. I like the optimism in that one. You know what I'm saying, right? Because look, let's face it. This is that perfect time of year where we get to talk about our favorite things, prospects. We get to talk about the next crop of up and comings. Okay, I'm here to tell you, folks, in this draft alone, gosh, Lance, there's probably at least 4 or 5 players right off the hop that'll probably start or play next year. Maybe not start, but play next year. I think there's at least 5 of those players in the draft this year. What do you?
Yeah, and I think they're not going to be the first, 4 or 5 off the board either. Obviously, Connor and Adam Fantilli could possibly start as early as next year, but beyond that, who knows? There's a couple of guys that are already committed to playing, in the NCAA, and most likely will do that for at least a year. So, but there's always those 1 or 2 players that will surprise you, even into the 20s of being drafted, that are able to make their NHL clubs right out the gate and have a great camp. So, be interesting.
I agree. And I think that speaks very highly of this year's draft class. Do you know what I mean?
Very much so.
Yeah.
This draft class, if Danny Briere is going to make these moves, I would do it for this draft class. I think next year has the makings of being a pretty good draft class, but I don't know if it's going to have this much depth. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think we'll start to see, like how we've done it this year, where we kind of got on board with everybody at the beginning, and was able to watch stocks rise throughout the season, you know what I mean? And then you get World Juniors, and you get, you know what I mean, and all that stuff throughout the rest of the season. And then you also get, the Frozen Four and all that other stuff. So, I mean, we've watched these guys like from this time last year. Mm-hmm. But we're looking at the next crop of guys.
That's why I'm looking at a year or 2 out even, and with some of the latest prospects we've been writing about for sure. Right?
Okay, I mean, but that's kind of where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's kind of where we're at, because we want to see, you always have to be that year or 2 back so you can see the next crop that's going to be for the, you know what I mean? And that's why we really feel that this year's draft, and especially with the Flyers now having the 7th and the 22nd overall pick with potential to get more. So how could Danny get more? Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because I really want to know what he's going to do next, because he put the NHL on notice right off the beginning with the first trade with Provorov, the 3-team deal that netted Provorov and a first-round pick back to the Flyers. So, what does Danny need to do to get us another first-round or an early second-round pick?
Well, there's been a lot of conversations happening for a lot of different players. I think at first, Carter Hart was a big name out there, and a lot of people were calling about him. You look at teams that need goaltending. LA has some question marks there in net. San Jose, James Reimer is getting 35 years of age, and he's unrestricted free agent there. Buffalo Sabres have a great young goaltender in Devon Levi, a guy who I really liked a few years ago in the draft. But I think they're looking for a more guy who's been in the NHL for at least a couple of seasons to pair with him. The Montreal Canadiens have a lot of holes and question marks in net, with Carey Price pretty much being done with hockey, so we think. And, just the uncertainty of Jake Allen. Pittsburgh Penguins, you have to look at Kyle Dubas coming in and a new GM and a new outlook on things. Tristan Jerry has had some success there, but he's been injured a lot. He's an unrestricted free agent. They have Philip Lindbergh, who I really like, a national champion for UMass there, but he's gotten kind of pissed off with the team and has went back to Finland. So they lost out there. The Ottawa Senators are looking for goaltending as well. There's a lot of teams there, but I don't think that Carter Hart is going to be one of the movable pieces right now, because of the fact that Canadian, hockey, junior hockey, that whole thing about them and no release date yet announced on the discovery of what happened in those questionable things that are going on there. I don't want to get into the detail of that too much, because I don't know too much about it, and I don't want to know too much about it. That's for them to look it over, but I do believe that they need to get that information out there, their findings, so that people can move on, because I don't think Carter Hart's going to be moved because of that, because if he is implicated in any sort of way, even if he was just a party that knew about it and didn't say anything, he could really lose his trade value, and people aren't going to want him. So where do you go from there? Tony DeAngelo's been a name that's been thrown around. He's obviously been disgruntled with the way his season ended in Philadelphia. Over the last 5-6 games of the year, he was basically benched for some of the Flyers' youth coming up and playing. And I thought that was a good choice. DeAngelo started out great. He had a lot of points. 42 points this season. That's kind of what he was brought in to do. But he was also a below average defender. He was a minus 27 on the year, one of the worst defensemen on the team in that regards. So he has 1 year left, I think, at $5 million. The Flyers, are kind of willing to move him if they could find a suitor. They may be able to even eat some of that salary to make him go away, because I don't think that he's going to get along with, John Tortorella after this season. They both kind of grew a disliking for each other. So there's no real leverage or information out there on anybody taking a bite at him as of yet. I haven't really heard any teams that really have been ringing the phones off the hook about him quite yet. Maybe once they find out they either miss out on an unrestricted free agent that they wanted to get, or potentially somebody gets hurt in camp or something like that, then maybe they'll settle for a guy like Tony DeAngelo and some of his struggling, things that go along with him. So Travis Konecny, a huge name as of late. A real firecracker, for the Flyers. He was good this year. He scored a career high in goals at 31 this year. He has a very reasonable cap at $5.5 million for the next 2 years. I think that is really good for the quality of player you're getting.
Yeah.
31 goals and 61 points. That's not bad for this young a guy. He's 26 years old still. Lot of games left in him, right? One of the teams that really is big on him as of late is Detroit. I heard they've been calling about him a lot. They could, potentially give us a first-round pick. They have a lot of picks. Also, I like some of their prospects too. I think Danny Briere is looking for more than just a first-round pick.
Yeah.
As we've seen with some of these other players that we'll get to in a second. But guys I would go after, let's shoot for the stars here. I like Marco Kasper. I like Cross Hans. I like Sebastian Kosa. I think he had a down year. He came up and played in the AHL, and he wasn't quite ready for that big of jump. So he went down and settled down in the ECHL. He's a big goaltender. He was the first goaltender taken in his draft class. So, there's some time to still build upon that, right? Carolina, I think, would be a good fit for TK as well. I think that Max Pacioretty tearing his Achilles tendon and having to have surgery over in, I believe, Finland or something this year. I don't know if he's going to be back 100% this year. I don't know if he's going to be back at all, or just as won't be able to return because he is older. Let's face it. I think he is 34 years of age. So it's a question mark.
Yeah, the only athlete that I've ever known, really, I mean, lots of them. The only one that I've known of in the modern era, though, was Danny Marino. Did the same thing, tore his Achilles about the same age, and missed a whole year.
Was able to come back.
Was able to come back, but he wasn't quite the same player. And it's a bit of a different motion. It's a bit of a different situation, and you know what I mean. So I mean, look, you made a lot of great points, and let's touch on first of all. The Carter Hart name was definitely put out there. I would not have a problem if Carter Hart was able to find. One of the places I was looking at was potentially Anaheim.
Well, that is true. I mean, their big-time goaltender there for a long time has asked for a trade, and I don't know. He fits that age bracket. They're up-and-coming team, even though they struggled still this year. They've garnered a lot of top 5, top 10 picks over the last couple of years. They have a lot of bright young stars on that team, so that could be a fit. I haven't heard of them, circling the wagons around him per se, but right. It is somebody that they could.
I mean, that's somebody I would think of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It would make sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense too, and I think it makes a lot of sense even for Carter Hart too to go out and a place like that. They play with a bunch of guys that about right around his same age and the whole 9 yards. TK, the names though that I've been hearing though are more Scotty Lawton. And a lot of people are definitely eyeballing that because he those leadership utility players that you could slot in at any spot. Quite frankly, you remember a couple of shows ago you talked about leaving some meat on the bones. Yeah, I think Scotty will be one of those guys you need to leave here.
Yeah, I mean, I really like him, and the more I talk to fans and the more I talk to people I know, they tend to agree with that. They think that Scotty Lawton is a guy that is young enough to be able to lead this team for the next couple of years through this. Rough patch over the next couple of seasons. But, when you start to talk about the rumors of Danny turning down a couple of offers of a late first-round pick and a second-round pick for him, it's it kind of starts to get you thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, wait a minute.
You could get, you know, a great depth player in the first, and depending on where that second round pick is, I got a bevy of guys that I would like still in the second round as well. And you know, if you look to add those two, another first round pick and a second round pick into this mix, where you already have 2 first round picks, that youth movement is gonna intensify greatly with the ones that are already here in Tyson Forrester and Cutter Gauthier and you know, Alexis Gendron and those names. You know, there's a couple more, but it's enticing. It's enticing for sure. But I do believe you got to leave some meat on the bones. I really like to leave TK if possible. I really like to leave Scott Lawton if possible, but it doesn't really, they're not circling the wagons, like I said, on Carter Hart, and Kevin Hayes has kind of died off there.
He was going to be the other name that I was going to mention too, that has been, you know, mentioned and swirled around, but you know, that's a lot of contract to eat. That's a lot of term to deal with, and he's not really that good.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. You can call me whatever you want, but you know, the numbers don't lie. The tape doesn't lie. You know, and I'm not trying to say he's not a good locker room guy, and he's not a, you know, potentially has some other good qualities as far as that's concerned. You know what I mean? When he puts his mind to it, Hayes be a pretty good winger that could help a team. You know what I mean? I just don't see how he can. I mean, I'm going to go against the grain here and go, I don't see how Kevin Hayes helps this team at all. I just don't. I see more of bad, potentially bad habits, or I mean, look, I'm not in the locker room, okay? All I can do is tell you what I see, right? And he just doesn't come across as a type of guy that is necessarily taking the young guys under his wing and showing them the ropes. Or if he is, maybe, I mean, is he contentious? Is he, I'm not trying to put any words in anybody's mouth or anything like that, but I can only go based on what I see and what's going on. Do you know what I mean?
I got one for you that really hasn't been talked about a lot, but the Florida Panthers need a defenseman. All right. They have 4 guys signed for next year. That's all. A lot of guys. Mark Stahl's getting older. He's 36. Ratko Gudas is a unrestricted free agent. Mark Stahl is an unrestricted free agent. You know, a lot of those guys are getting older. Ekblad is there. He's the only one that's a potential first-line player, and he's a right-hand shot defenseman. So if possible, it's not really possible at all, but if the Flyers were to try to get rid of Sanheim's ungodly contract, that is where I would try to ship it off to. They really don't have any defense, and it's a struggling mess on the back end. I'm surprised they made it as far as they did. And if it wasn't for Bob's, you know, good stretch there, and actually Alex Lyon, who I always like to put down, but he did have a good playoff run when people got injured and stuff like that. But Travis Sanheim's contract, $6.25 million, and it's for a bunch of years, 8 years. It's a nasty, nasty contract that should have never been signed. And I would hate to have to retain salary, but, you know, if they wanted to dump that, Florida would be the desperate team right now that could possibly do it, because Sanheim would potentially move in and be their top left-hand shot defenseman if possible. I don't see other UFAs that are that enticing to bring in to make a focal point of their defense. There's some good pieces to build, you know, maybe a fourth, but Sanheim could thrive in that offensive run team as well.
So what kind of picks you think they would get back for that?
Very little. I think they would shake Florida's GM's hand and say, hey,
Call it
thanks for
even.
taking them off. Yeah, thanks for taking them off our hand. Even possibly having to give them something. No, we might get a little something back, but it would be very, very little. And I would still think we would have to retain salary, but I would hate to do it for that long because you would have to do that for 8 seasons. But it is an ungodly contract that we're going to have to sit there and swallow and hold it down for a while before we're able to get rid of it if they don't get creative. So
that's not even the whole of it. That's not even the whole of it. That's, we didn't even talk about his contract. We didn't even talk about Ryan Ellis's contract. We didn't even talk about Cam Atkinson's contract. Ellis, I think, is pretty much basically cap money, dead cap money, because I don't think he's ever going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, gosh, I hope everything goes well for him. I hope he gets to come back and play. It'll be great. Cam Atkinson, same thing, man. That would be great if they could come back and play. How long are they going to play for? Are they going to give us a full 75 games?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll take 70, right? Are you going to give me 70 games? Right? You get 70 games for both of you two guys? Because if we're not, then now you have to weigh, oh gosh, how much money am I paying this guy? And he's only playing how many games? Do you know what I mean? And then that's where that whole thing comes into play then as well too, right? So, okay, so you think that there's still some potential to move some. There's still some potential to move some players on the roster right now.
I do, but I think it's not going to be the players everybody wants to move.
Oh, see, that's exactly what I wanted to get to, Lance. That's the perfect point that I wanted to talk about right there, because we would love to see Sanheim go, but in reality of it, that's just probably beyond anything that's going to happen potentially this year or at any time during free agency or anything like that. Mm-hmm. There was also some qualifying offers that needed to be made to some players, which they were. And then also in that big trade, and that's something that we didn't even talk about, was the fact that Cal Peterson is now playing for the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, you and I both feel he's going to be one of two things. He's going to be fodder, or he's going to be buried in the Phantoms.
True. And that's something that LA did to him last season. They buried him. But, he got that contract that's $5 million for a reason, right? He was thought to be the next goaltender for the Kings, and rightfully so. I mean, he's had some seasons there where, he's a 20-game winner back in 21-22, not too long ago, right?
That was the COVID season, right?
Yeah, and then 22-23, he struggled a little bit, but he went down to the AHL. He settled back in. He had some better numbers. He played 40 games for him, and then you look at what he was able to do. You look at what he was able to do the past couple of years he played in the World Championships. Okay, this is what you got to look at, because LA's going through a rough time. Their veterans that they won the cups with are going away. They're getting older. They're retiring. They're moving out via trade, what have you, and they got a lot of good young prospects coming up, but they're kind of at an in-between point, right? And you look at what Cal was able to do even this past season at the World Championships. He played in 3 games, right?
Yeah.
He had a 0.72 goals against average and a 9.56 save percentage. He had a shutout, and he won all 3 games that he played in, okay? This guy still has the stuff. It's still there.
You know what, Lance? That all day sounds better than a Carter Hart couple of games. Well, there's a shutout in there. There's a less than a point per game goals against average. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, but I had to interrupt you on that one, man, those numbers were just ridiculous. Like, we thought we were going to see that from Carter Hart, and we're not, right? If this, look, why bury him if he's going to be the guy? That gives you the opportunity to trade Carter Hart, get what you can from or that. You know what I mean? I think you're going to have to weigh that option. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that's going to need to happen sooner rather than later. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, well, like I said, though, with that Team Canada thing looming over his head, I don't think teams are willing to pull the trigger. I think they're hesitant on that until that comes out.
Okay.
That is where we're at with him. You got guys calling, asking what it would take, but they want to see what's going to happen with that before they pull the trigger and try to bring in Carter Hart. So
makes sense.
But I would say don't sleep on, Cal Peterson. He is a guy that could potentially, be something, but I wouldn't think he would be the guy long term here in Philadelphia. He's not the answer by all means. He's not the answer, but he's a guy that could fill in. And like you're saying, if they do decide to move on from Carter Hart and get as many, draft picks or whatever that they could for him.
Very well could be. I mean, look, anything can happen. Do you know what I'm saying? He can come into camp and just play really, really well in camp. You know what I mean? And then get that start, get the first couple games under his play really well. And we all know that Tortorella helps goaltenders with their game. It helps to improve their numbers. But it didn't obviously work for Carter Hart, right? So that's why I at this point, whatever you can get, even if you have to do the opposite, anyway. All right. Here's the other thing I want to talk about, and this is what the whole crux of the whole title of the show was, with the upcoming draft. Will this be a summer of love for Philly? So you think that there's still at least a few more picks left to be garnered before the draft, right?
I do. I think they're going to make one more deal before the draft.
Well, let's hope so, because I'm here to tell you, buddy, we're kind of like running out of time here, man.
And it could be that day on the draft floor, too.
All right. I'll take that, too. Okay. I was just checking the clock there, and it's the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
So
coming up
next Thursday. Yeah. Right.
So it's definitely interesting, and I think with all that you mentioned prior, the World Championships, the World Juniors, everything like that. Now the NHL Draft Combine. There's been some moving and shaking in these mock drafts as of late. Okay, there has been a couple of last-minute risers that it is surprising, and I don't think that the Flyers, with the number 7th overall pick, is going to pick the guy that everybody has been thinking they will pick for quite some time now.
So that's a perfect lead in there, Mr. Green, that I want to talk about, because Philadelphia Flyers now find themselves with two first-round draft picks. They have the 7th overall draft pick and the 22nd overall draft pick in the first round of the 2023 NHL draft. It's going to happen on June 28th and 29th in Nashville. So I have gone on record, and I will continue to go on record, that as far as I'm concerned, the number 7 overall pick for the Philadelphia Flyers should be Chris Stahl. As far as I'm concerned, if that name on the board, that has to be the pick that they make, as far as I'm concerned. Everything that I've seen compared to Leonard, compared to Gabe Perreault, compared to Will Smith, compared to even Fantilli, even to, all these other names, Yeager, all these other names, I still think Stahl has to be the one. If Flyers are able to take him, that's the player that they need. That has Philadelphia Flyer written all over him. And as far as I'm concerned, that is a perfect Danny Briere pick. That's a perfect Tortorella pick. I think that flies all day long.
Well, I definitely, he's one of my favorite players in this draft, but unfortunately, he's been a big faller.
Yeah.
He's fallen down the draft boards. I think his size of only 5'10" and 165 pounds, soaking wet, it is scaring a couple people. But because he is essentially the same size as Connor Bedard, but height wise, but he doesn't have his build. He's not as solid as him. He's not NHL ready, right now.
Right.
Right.
No,
so,
I agree with you though, Lance. I agree with you.
Right. So I think he's fallen, but I think the Flyers essentially are not going to go with the guy everybody thinks that they were going to go with Ryan Leonard. Now, Ryan Leonard is committed to BC for next year. He would play with Cutter Gauthier, on the same team. So that's kind of fitting, right? He's a Philadelphia type guy. He's very very aggressive, everything like that. Kind of a Mike Richards in my sense, tough kid, hard-working guy, good leadership guy, and he scored a ton of points this year, right?
And he already has the body size, right? Yeah. So, dude, I'm with you on this all day long. If Crystal's not available, that's who I would be picking.
That's who everybody besides us, Steel, have been saying that the Flyers should select. But we talked about late risers, and we talked about recently how Keith Jones and company have said that they really want to focus in on a right-hand shot defenseman and building back that defense, right? And, Reinbacher is a guy whose name has been jumping up boards as of late. And, don't be surprised if the Flyers take David Reinbacher, a 6'2", 187-pound right-hand shot defenseman, in the draft, okay? He is already playing professional hockey over in the Swiss leagues over there, okay? He's an Austrian-born defender. He looked great in World Juniors. He played in the World Championships. He is a big body guy that a lot of people have grown to like in these last couple weeks. So, they need a defenseman, but
I would take that all day.
I personally think they could get a good defenseman with the 22nd overall pick.
That's what. Yeah.
There's some good defensemen there. I think at the top end of this draft, they do need to go with a guy like Crystal. They do need to go with a guy like Leonard or Dvorsky or Will Smith if he's still there. I don't think he will be. Or even drop back a couple, maybe gain another pick and go for a guy like Gabe Perreault. In my mind, I think that would be a great pick as well.
Yeah,
all
I do too.
Are great options for their first pick. All right. For their 22nd pick, I have a name that he's been on our other show, Prospect Watch here. And, I really think he's one of the only ones that is a complete defenseman right now. But I think he's a left-hand shot defenseman though.
Yeah.
But Moran, we've had him on our show. I really like this kid. He played for, Manhattan this year in the Q. I really like him. He's physical. He can get a strong outlet pass out of the zone. He can jump up in the play and skate the puck in himself. He can score from the blue line. He can do it all.
Complete package.
He's a complete package. He played at World Juniors. And I really like this kid. And, I've talked to a lot of people about him, trying to, promote him as much as possible, because I really do think he's the complete package right there. There's a lot of good defensemen there in the Pelikas and the Reinbachers, but
Yep.
Pelika's all offense. He's not so great on the defensive side of things.
Yep.
Reinbacher, he's not physical as Moran is. Some of the other ones are just not complete yet, right? They're going to take a year or two, but I think Moran could jump up late into the first round. In some of the mock drafts that I see, after I already predicted this in one of our other shows, he has jumped up to that level of late first round potentially. Yeah. So I think that would be a great Philadelphia Flyers type defenseman. You think a bigger Scott Stevens on skates in my mind. He is that physical on the back end. I think Philadelphia fans would really like him.
Dude, look, if they got to watch half as much tape as we've got to watch about this young man, if they had a chance to sit down and talk with this young man like we've had a chance to sit down and talk with this young man, then there would be no question in my mind that this would be one of the top defenders taken off the board. If you want somebody that plays defense hockey, this is your guy. And Lance, if we could land this player 22nd overall pick, are you kidding? No matter what happens with the Philadelphia Flyers, Etienne Morin will be drafted this year.
For sure, yeah. Whether it be in the late first round or early second round to another team, he's going to be drafted, and he's going to make a lot of teams sorry that they passed up on him. Sure.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, if you have a chance to get a name like Chris Stahl or even Gabe Perreault or any of the other names that we rattled off, what are you waiting for? If you have a chance to pick that type of defender that Keith Jones is talking about, this is exactly the kind of guy that Keith Jones is talking about, that stands guys up at the blue line first, has that good first crisp pass, has great vision, and the game slows down on the stick at such a young age already. I mean, I've seen, look, when we started seeing Cam York, right, and we started watching, we were, wow, this guy's pretty good. He was very poor and was very mature out there on the ice. You know what I mean? And he was one of those guys that the game slowed down for when he had the puck, right? That's exactly how Morin is. I'm here to tell you, this guy is the real deal.
So I gotta ask you, would you potentially trade out of the 7th and back down a couple of spots to the teens somewhere if a team came calling and said, maybe threw in a 3rd or a 2nd round pick and gave you their tweens, pick there? Because you don't have a top 5 pick. You have a 7. I think the difference between a guy at 7 and a guy at, say, even all the way down to 15 isn't that different.
In this draft, I would agree with you, Lance.
Right.
This would be the only time that I would do it would be in this draft, because I think exactly what you said. Between 7 and 15, those 8 guys that aren't the top 5, right? But we're talking about your Carlos, we're talking about your Gabe Perreault, we're talking about your Ryan Leonards, your Will Smiths, we're talking about these guys, right? The Chris Stahls and all these other guys and all this other stuff. Look, if the Flyers have a chance to garner another first-round pick by dropping back, or to get the guy that they drop back, then I'm okay with that. Okay? My concern is this. You need offense, you need defense. You have an opportunity to pick 2 really good players in the first round right now without doing a thing. You don't have to trade back. You don't have to do nothing. You could You could just stand pat and pick 7th and pick 22nd, and you're still gonna get 2 really good players. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if they wanted to trade back, they could. And
I like that thinking, though.
If they sat there and got a Gabe Perreault who outscored both Will Smith and Ryan Leonard,
Exactly.
and is going to BC as well to play with Cutter.
Yeah.
Or if you got our guy fell back and got Cristal in that, and then drafted Moran at say 22, and then got a 2nd round pick possibly out of this. And I'm looking at a guy like Noah Dower Nielsen, Swedish guy, a center
like that
there.
one.
I like that pick as well. So there's endless possibilities. Like I said, guys, there's endless possibilities for Danny Briere, and I think he has proven that he has the capability of handling himself in this realm, and pulling off some big stuff. Because I got to tell you guys, I don't know if a guy came calling for a Scotty Lawton and said he would give me a 1st and a 2nd, and I would turn him down as a brand new GM. That's tough to do, because you're a struggling franchise. You got the chance to have 3 first-round picks to turn your team around to what you want them to be.
Potentially 2 of them in the top.
Right. That's hard pill to swallow, to just say, nah, no thank you.
Especially Flyers, of all teams, who can ill afford to look gift horses in the mouth like that.
Yeah.
Because this stuff doesn't just drop into your lap. Okay? Let's face it. The Flyers have an opportunity here to turn this thing around in a much more quicker fashion than even what they could do. Look, no matter what, one of the players I think potentially might make the team out of camp, whomever we pick in the first 7th or the 22nd pick players, may make it, depending on who those players are. If it's Moran, I think he'll make it out of camp. But otherwise, you're looking at a guy that's at least a year or 2 away. So, all right, what do you have to do with your team to get you to a point where, you see what I'm saying? This is a big, giant building block here. And the Flyers have an opportunity to put that keystone in place right now by getting 2 players in the first round this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I think they have to look at it like. You may not be able to get rid of the DeAngelos. You may not be able to get rid of the, any of the other contracts that we've talked about. You may not be able to do that this year. That might have to be a deadline thing. That might have to be a next year thing. This is not going to happen overnight. This is not going to be a 1 or 2 season thing. Okay, let's face it. We're looking at least 3 years out. Okay, that puts, that's Tortorella's final year on his contract. That's what we're looking at here. Till we get the Cutter Gauthiers and whoever we pick this year's, and some of these other players start coming good, it's going to be another year or 2 away from that. So just preparing people for the reality of life. Okay, you can't build it in a day. You can wreck it in a day. We found that, well, actually 4 days. Right, so he signed the Ellis. He brought Ellis in. That was a bad deal. He signed Sanheim to that hard contract. That was a bad day. What was it? Couturier one. That was another. That contract was. And Hayes. That contract was just ridiculous. Should we throw in JVR too? That makes it 5 days now. Right. So Fletcher, you didn't string together too many good days there, buddy. So. What do you think, Lance? Got anything coming up?
I'm just getting ready for this draft. It's like Christmas Day for me. It's the one time of year that everybody has hope of, grabbing a potential future superstar that's going to change the face of their franchise. And, I'm here for it. We haven't had much on Broad Street to get too excited about on the ice anyway. So it's about time.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. Quick little updates on some things that have happened off the ice. Don LeClair has now been added to the front office as a special advisor to Hockey Ops, along with Patrick Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And I did watch the press conferences of both. Both players, I'm sorry, both ex-players, sorry. Yeah, I said both said that they had some type of experience in certain things, but for the most part, here we go. John LeClair, ex-player. Guy, I loved him. He's one of my favorite all-time Flyer players all day long. And he's going to be part of player development. Another set of eyes, he said in the press conference. Okay. Patrick Sharp, I'm not sure what that guy's going to do, but okay.
He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's very, very.
He's a smart guy. Yeah.
And he brings 3 Stanley Cups worth of experience to it. So let's give him a shot here. I really like the idea of it. It shows that they're trying to go away from the Paul Holmgrens, the Bobby Clarks, the Bill Barbers, the Shel Samuelsons in player development, hopefully. And, the guys that haven't been on the ice for 20, 30, 40 years and have brought in some names that, are at least playing in a NHL salary cap era, and know how to go about winning in this day and age, kind of updating things, still adding more ex-Flyers in a sense, but that nepotism runs strong here in Philly. But if we're going to bring in proven guys like a Patrick Sharp or John LeClair, who's one of my favorite players too of all time, I say good on you, because I think the Flyers would be best to go back to playing a style of hockey that generates a good power forward, like John LeClair was, like Scott Hartnell was, like Wayne Simmons was. For so long, we had great power forwards, and you could even throw Timmy Kerr in there back in the day too. But all those great power forwards, and that is the heyday of the Flyers, when they had a big guy that was willing to stand in front of the net and could get the dirty goals and win you some games, win you some tight games too, so that is Flyers hockey. I think we do need to get back to a bit of that. I think we got away from that once Wayne Simmons, kind of left the Flyers organization. So I'm interested with the Cutter Gauthiers and the Tyson Forsters, and who knows, maybe the Ryan Leonards of the world coming in and being maybe that power forward presence again.
Yeah.
To go along with some younger guys that are quick and everything that we have now. So
that's exactly what Keith Jones said. I heard him over say is that, man, we need to bring the excitement back into the building. Mm-hmm. And how do you do? Well, you do that by bringing the excitement to the ice, the product on the ice. Okay?
You mean not Gritty in the stands, entertaining everybody while they're losing?
So I'm going to say this about Gritty, okay? During the pandemic, he had the Gritty's quarter hour of power.
Yeah.
And that was something that we looked forward to whenever that came out, right? And that basically ended Gritty to us. So, all right, I like Gritty, cool, but I'm not there to see Gritty. Okay? I'm not there to see all the anything else. I'm there to watch a hockey game. Okay. And yeah, all the flames coming out of the the Jumbotron and all that's all cool, and all the graphics are all cool, and all the music's all cool, and the standing up there banging on the drum is all cool and great. I need some W's in the column, right? I need some banners in the roof, right? I need not just, hey, we made it. I need to see, yep, Flyers are in it again. Yep, Flyers are in it again. Yep, Flyers are in it again. We went 28 years in a row where we made the playoffs. Now, I don't know about y'all, but as far as I'm concerned, that's the bulk of the time that I follow the Flyers. So as far as I'm concerned, the Flyers being in the playoffs is a birthright. Okay? So what's going on here, guys? Can we get back to the playoffs? Maybe?
Yep.
Can we try that? Shall we? Something new? What do you think? All right. Lance, I'll tell you what, my friend, we got another really good one here in the books. This is going to be our quote-unquote draft preview show, But there's so much going on here with this draft. There's so much going on with a whole bunch of other things going on with the Flyers. So I'll tell you what, man. Why don't you tell the folks, Lance, where we can find you and where we can get all of your great, awesome articles, which, by the way, I do this, but I'm going to say this right now. You guys need to jump over to our YouTube channel or our website, SteelFlyers.com, and check out the article that Lance wrote about Antoine Morin, and then watch our Prospect Watch show about him. And then you guys will understand. You will understand why we feel the way we do about this player. Okay? So, Lance, why don't you tell us where we can find you, where we can get you?
Sure. All my stuff's on SteelFlyers.com, like you just said. And you can always find me on Flyers Facebook groups or my Twitter at Lance Green 39.
For sure, man. Thank you very much to the editor-in-chief, the writer extraordinaire, the guardian of the blue paint. Thank you for all that you do, man. I really appreciate it, man. This wouldn't fly if it wouldn't be for all the work that you do. So I really appreciate that, man. Thank you very much for that hard work. Big props and thanks to Spreaker for all that you got to help us get our show out there to every one of you guys out there so you can listen, even though if you can't watch us, so you can at least still listen. Thank you all very much for your support. We couldn't do this. We wouldn't do this if it wouldn't be for you all. So thank you very much. I'm SteelFlyers, your co-host. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyer52. You can also check out all the great work at Flyers.com. For watching the Hockey Writers Ink, a Philadelphia Flyers hockey podcast. We'll talk to you guys later.